Thank you. What's up, guys? This is the first time I'm hearing about this 8-minute thing, though. I've got about a 20-minute presentation that now I have to get through in 8 minutes. So I'm Charlie. I'm very glad to be here with you guys this evening. I strongly believe that which makes us human has more to do with data than maybe anything else out there. Anything else out there. Now, I spent about 20 years as an HR executive before I pulled the ripcord on corporate America to go do other stupid things. But I hope that as I talk to you today, I'm doing that from really a shared experience. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm definitely not here to indict you. I'm here with a call to action. And that call to action is data can, it does, it will help us differentiate in the workplace, but HR sucks at data. We got to change that. That's what I want to talk about today. So, I don't think that anybody in this room would argue that data isn't important. I can give you a 3-ring binder, citations, proof, research that would point to not only the increasing prominence of data in our world, but how important it's becoming for our market, for our economy, certainly for our workplace, and even more so for our society. Data is empirical. It can be universally interpreted, understood, acted on. Data is irrefutable. It can sway even the strongest of naysayers, and it can spark some serious groundswell. Data catches eyes. It raises eyebrows. It is harder and harder for us to ignore. It's literally around us. It is swallowing us. It is everywhere around us. In fact, by the year 2020, we are expected to contribute as many as 40 zettabytes a year. That's 40 with 21 zeros of this stuff. It's a lot of data. Those organizations which are figuring this out, those organizations which are figuring out how to leverage this stuff are already ahead of the curve. I think we know this is important. What I'm scared about is that we're still just paying it lip service. And that's all we've really done. So I don't have the time to give you my treatise on this, but if we focus on just one really important aspect of data, one that I think we're all familiar with, surveys, employee surveys. Let's talk about what's falling down even just here. So we spend about $1 billion on surveys every year. Yet we found out that about 1 in 3 HR leaders out there still don't do anything to pull information feedback from their employees, to poll their employees, to survey their employees. And those that don't, a third of those, 1 in 3, say that the reason they don't is because they're afraid of what they're going to find out. Now, if that's not a major disconnect with what we're here to do today, I really don't know what is. So the flip side of this is that the 50%, that 50% of the people that actually do an annual survey or some regular survey say that they rarely, if ever, do anything meaningful with the results of that survey. And when I share that statistic, I don't care who I share it with. I don't care who's in that room, heads nod. I already saw some heads nod. Problem is, employees' heads are nodding even more vigorously. 80% of employees believe or have no trust or faith that their managers are actually going to do something with the feedback that they've received from these surveys. 80%. So what's going on here? Well, there's a lot of stuff. Let's talk about the fundamentals, not the least of which is we don't have the skills. Again, I'm not indicting, I'm not blaming. We didn't go to school for these skills. We haven't practiced them. It really even hasn't been expected of us. And only recently did we start to think that this was even part of our jobs, that data was in fact part of our jobs. I did a random test. I went out and I grabbed 25 profiles of HR professionals from LinkedIn, randomly, all levels, all parts of the geography. Their combined profiles comprised 12,000 words, and the word data or analytics showed up 12 times. 12 times of 12,000 words. We ourselves don't even see this or recognize this as an important part of what we're here to do. If you look at SHRM's guidelines, recently, or relatively new guidelines on the curriculum for graduate and undergraduate HR programs, 500 required topics or subtopics. Of those 500 required topics or subtopics, 16 of them have something distinctly to do with statistics or analytics or data. Now, this is the curriculum for our 21st century. I don't know if that feels like a disconnect to you. I don't know if this whole thing around data is even on your agenda. I don't know if it's important to you. I hope we'll talk about it, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to reflect on it during the Q&A session. But before we do that, let me just leave you with some things to ruminate on. So, and all of this ties back, I believe, to data in some form or fashion. First of all, engagement levels haven't changed. By and large, employee engagement scores have not changed in the last 10 to 20 years. Okay? Same with average tenure for employees. Have not changed for the last decade. About 4.6 years, by the way. We in HR are constantly reacting. We're never predicting. We are running to the side of the ship that needs the most attention without thinking about potentially what's next, what should be, what could be. Human beings are way too complex for us to think that we can manage them in any sort of meaningful way based on our gut and our assumptions and our instinct. We need more than that to provide a meaningful experience. Data is, or HR is the only operating system in enterprise that's not steeped in data. Point to any other. Marketing, sales, finance, accounting, development, IT, data. We don't have that going on in HR. If we don't figure this out, someone else is going to figure it out. We can have somebody else own HR or data analytics or people analytics, or we can own that. And as much as I hate the cliche and I roll my eyes at it every time I hear it, that we need a seat at the table, God forbid, it's apropos in this conversation. The people sitting at that table want the data. They thrive for that data. Finally, what do we do about this? Start. Just start. Get some expertise. Buy it, borrow it, build it, whatever you need to do. You have people, I guarantee you, in your organization who are data geeks and would love to help, to jump in, to be part of this. Experiment. Be curious. There is no one data point in the world that is going to solve your workforce woes. It's not going to answer your questions. But if it fuels a conversation, if it fuels a more productive conversation, that's where the power is. You can facilitate. You can fuel that conversation. Pay attention to trend over scores. One data point is interesting. One score is interesting. Multiple data points over time is convincing, and it can be acted on in a much better way. If you want to talk about anonymity and what we've learned on that, you got to have an employee feedback. If you want to debate that, I'd love to. And there are 3 terms that I'd love for you to have some familiarity with at some point: statistical significance, correlation, and causation. I'm sure to some of you that's something that maybe even you already use, but this is where the answers lie. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Your internal benchmarks are way more powerful than any external benchmark you can ever get. Let's stop paying attention to what everybody else's data looks like, and let's start looking inward on that. And don't bother getting data if you're not going to do anything with it. That's it. Thanks so much.